Let's be honest, life's too busy to sit down with a book sometimes. That's why Amazon Music Unlimited now lets you listen to one audiobook from Audible each month. Listen while you commute, work out, or tackle that pile of dishes. Any book, any genre, your choice. Transform your daily routine into quality reading time. Download the Amazon Music app and turn your next chapter into an audio adventure.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Welcome to Emotionally Unavailable, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of emotional availability and intimacy. I'm your host, Melissa Hepner, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have you join me on this journey of self-discovery and connection. Whether you're navigating the complexities of relationships or exploring your own emotional landscape, this podcast is here to inspire, empower, and entertain. So get cozy and let's explore the depths of human emotions together. Hello, folks. Happy Friday. Hope it's fabulous for you. Let's get real for a second. I'm tired. I just finished watching the Thunder game not too long ago. I've taken an edible, and my sweet friend Kat, who I'm trying to introduce to you, apparently no longer has her Podmatch profile, so I cannot just read off an introduction, and I'm gonna have to, what's the word? Fucking free ball? I don't even know. Okay. Anyway, so it's been a minute since I've had to just talk about the guest instead of reading something off. Okay, so her name is Kat. I never asked how to pronounce her last name, but I think it's Dao, D-A-O-U, I think. Fuck. Damn it. Okay, well, just roll with me here. Okay. She does family constellation therapy as well as ancestral intuitive readings. She's amazing. I can't wait for you to hear this. So let me just, give peeps a little warning. So she has, intuitive medium gifts, okay? So if that sort of thing totally freaks you out, you probably want to tune out because we get real personal. I am actually not editing a single thing out of this episode. It was very, very raw and real and crazy spiritual. It was amazing. So, if you're open to shit like that, you got to listen because it was pretty amazing. But so she really, in her family constellation, I was glad to get a better explanation of that because, my buddy Pete, the blue-collared spiritualist, he does that as well. I have two buddies, Pete. That's cute. Anyway, he does those as well. And I just didn't really have, a good understanding of what it was. Excuse me, before my interview with Kat. So it was amazing, and I'm really excited for you to hear this. We super bonded, and I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I've been stalking her ever since. I've been bugging the shit out of her, just hey, we still friends. Also, she has a podcast called Heal with Kat, the podcast, and there was something else. If you go to her website, and I'm going to include the link, you can get, she's got a freebie. I wish I could remember. Maybe what kind of cycle breaker are you? I don't remember. But, I just don't usually look up all this stuff. On her website, it says, it's time to alchemize your pain and experience total liberation. And boy, I'm going to tell you this much. The peace I have felt since this interview, insane. It's healed so much shit around me and my grandma, and even just stuff left over with my mom that I probably still needed some help with. I feel amazing. So it was 333 on the timer when I looked down. So y'all listen, if you're not totally weirded out by mediums, please listen, because this is amazing. And I want you to see what she does, because she can absolutely help you. All right. Well, I guess that's the shitty intro that you're going to get, folk and cat. So yeah, I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. And, here's me and cat.
Emotionally unavailable.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I haven't recorded in a week, and I forgot how to let someone in the room. I was like,
Saturday morning brain.
for real, I'm struggling. I've been traveling this week, and I'm so tired.
Oh, where were you traveling?
I went to Seattle. I got to be on a panel and then do a keynote to close out their conference, and it was really exciting. But boy, I do not travel well. I do not.
Same. I'm that person that comes with the face mask, the iPads, the electrolytes, the bottle of water, and my own snacks, the compression socks.
Listen, and you know what? I didn't do enough. And I did not have enough access to water. I was dying of thirst all week. And because Seattle's very like energy conserve. And so it was like their water bottles are in aluminum, which isn't a problem at all, but it seemed to be harder to find. And I was trying to save money. So I'm like refilling water in my damn bathroom. And that was not the vibe, Kat, not the fucking vibe at all. And I was putting my little Mio drops in it. And I was like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. So anyway, yeah, I should have taken electrolytes. That's going to be a new one I have to add to my list, because I have found that when I do speaking engagements, like I have to give myself a particular brand of care afterwards. Like I started to feel my throat and everything that day. Like the panel was whatever, but keynote was, a lot of adrenaline.
Yeah.
And
congrats. Oh, that's exciting.
Thank you. It was my first keynote. I was really excited about it, and it went really well, but boy, that crash, you'll just go straight to chemical depletion. And it's like, I need a nap. And now I know that about myself. Like I've done a few of these now, like at least speaking engagements. And so I know, like, don't schedule stuff, sleep. So I went straight back to the hotel room, slept for like, I don't even know how long, did some edibles, all the things. Cause shit, dude, it's legal in fucking Seattle. So I just walked up that hill. I was like, yeah, I need that. Thank you. Cause I use edibles at home for sleep, but like I'm not traveling with that shit and getting arrested,
No, you don't want to do that. That is not good news.
No, it's not. That's not what we want to do with our lives. Well, I'm really excited to meet you. I was looking at your profile again earlier, and I just asked my buddy Pete if you had interviewed with him, because I felt like at one point he was like, hey, there's this guest, Pete versus Anxiety. Have you met him?
No, I don't think I have.
He's so fun. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. He's just like a good guy,
Okay.
But I asked him, but he hasn't responded. But I saw that you do constellations, and you're not the first person I've had on, but because of who I am and I talk too much, we never really got into what family constellations are. And I have a friend that does this too. I keep wanting to sign up to like understand better, but I really don't. I have a very basic understanding, but really don't understand. Can you help me understand first, like what that is?
Yeah, it can be a bit complicated, because I think the idea of it is still like landing for a lot of people, but I like to describe it in this way, and it makes sense to me. Hopefully it lands for you too. But we're looking at all of the unhealed and unacknowledged trauma that's happened in your family lineage that has made its way to you epigenetically and energetically, and it's showing up in your life as a block. And it could be a block in any area of your life, emotionally, physically, spiritually, you name it, relationships, money, career, weight, food, parent relationships, whatever it is, they happen to show up. And many people will come to me and say, I've tried it all. I don't know what else to try. And I'm like, have you worked on your family? And they're like, it's a sensitive topic. And I'm like, that's probably where the root is.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. So my background's in social work, and this makes sense to me why so many social workers are doing this in their practices. Because, I remember it being a very powerful experience in grad school, learning just about doing like all of your, God, I can't remember the word now, but just basically a genome map and looking at all of your systems and doing like a family tree, but understanding the trauma within each of those branches.
Mhm.
And one thing that really moved me was like generations not that long ago didn't talk about infant and pregnancy loss at all, and how much that shapes future generations when a loss like that is experienced. I mean, it shapes that family, first of all, and then what that shaping contributes to the rest of your lineage. And that one thing, I was like, damn, yeah, I never even thought about that. And it made me start to ask women in my family about their losses because, listen, I got a real fucked up family and I knew that, but I was like, let's break down some of the fucked upness here, But yeah, I think it's amazing to do work that goes far beyond just the current, what we're seeing, because that is what generational trauma looks like. And I know for me, and I've been talking for like 3 straight minutes, I'm so sorry, but for me, I remember the first time I felt this unraveling of myself and generational trauma, and felt generational healing just by reimagining a couple of things, like going back and revising some scenarios that I had lived through. And I really did just feel like almost like the butterfly effect, like just like, okay, now future generations will be benefiting from the fact that I did that.
Awareness is always the first and biggest step, in my opinion, because it takes a lot for someone, especially who's gone through a lot of trauma, to finally face the awareness of how something either happened or how it affected them. I know that I've done a lot of 12-step work. I know that awareness is also a big step in the 12-step world as well. Once you can kind of face the truth of what you experienced. But you touched on something that was also really powerful, which is that in terms of cycles or patterns that happen due to the unhealed trauma, it may not always be the same thing, THING, but oftentimes it's the same theme, THEME. So loss could be a theme in your family system. It could be secrets. Secrets are a tough one to work with.
So big, yes.
And the hard part with secrets is that, when we're working in this energetic field and people are standing on papers that represent certain person, places, or things, we can look at truth from that perspective, the spiritual, the quantum truth, right? We work within this kind of God field, I call it. And I trust everything that is said and felt on those papers because that is so sacred. But there's still a human part of us that wants to know if it's true. Can we validate what we experience? And that's a very human, real, analytical part of us. Probably stems from a little bit of that need for control in the chaos. But, I encourage people to really listen to their bodies and what they say in the field and not have to look for the absolute truth. Sorry. I've got 2 dogs. Can you hear them?
No, I can't at all, but I'm glad we took a pause because I'm hearing my dryer in the background and I know that it's going to pick up. So one second, I'm going to shut a door.
No worries.
I also have 2 dogs in my bedroom right now, and I have no doubt they're going to act up at some point. So
yeah, mine always do. But anyways, yeah, so oftentimes we're just looking at the themes and with the secrets too. I want to say that like there might be that part of us that wants to know for sure. I've experienced things in my family that were secrets that I'll never know the truth, but I know that I feel resonance towards it, and that's enough for me to go into it.
yes, absolutely. And in terms of the truth, I've really kind of gotten to a place where I just decided like I get to decide what's true. for me, you know, and that's been a really big step. And even like in the whole idea of you create your own reality, like something that I really struggled with along with all of the other folk with any sort of trauma, all of us. I used to worry so much about like, I'm going to say it like this, but it doesn't really like explain it, but just like the how I was perceived or I don't know, a lot of anxious attachment. I'll just say that. So in friendships, in whatever. So like if I'm not hearing from someone or getting a response, my response then to that is very different than what it is now. And now I kind of just go, well, I'm the only one over here determining that this is happening for this reason. I'll never know what the actual thing is here. So what if I just determine the reason is this? And I picture us loving each other in the silence. I mean, it took a little while to get there, and sometimes it still hurts my feelings, but overall, it was just like, people don't have to be thinking ugly shit about you to not have time to connect. And I can just decide, like, every time they cross my mind, it's because I'm crossing theirs. And I now just pause. It's 11:11 on the clock. I now just pause and go, we're sending each other love right now. Like, instead of what I used to do to myself, which was pretty mean. I mean, nobody likes me. Everybody hates me. I'm lonely because, you know, and it's like, that's doesn't have to be the truth.
Well, I have to share something with you because I can totally relate to that. And my fiance shared something with me that completely changed my perspective. So, you know, the whole let them theory by Mel Robbins, that landed about 20% for me. It felt like I
Right.
needed more, you know, it wasn't deep enough for me for some reason. So my fiance said that this man named Jefferson Fisher kind of changed that a little bit. And now it is like my motto. I don't need to change your mind about me. And for some reason, that blew the hinges off of my life. And I was like, oh, I have so much permission to stop caring about so much of the stuff I put my energy into. I'm so worried if I'm going to be accepted or validated or how I'm going to be seen or if I'm going to be judged. And I tell you, I have used this motto internally almost every at least hour of the day since I heard it, because I'm like, oh, what if my family sees this thing that I post? I don't need
Yes.
to change their mind about me. I'm
Yes.
not doing anything hurtful or harmful to anyone. I'm just expressing myself. And so that can be tricky with family systems, but yeah, that really changed my life.
Oh, I love that because I've had to, truth be told, since we talked about Mel Robbins, I just feel like she's in a spiritual bypassing type area. And I don't feel like, I feel like it's dangerous to try to teach people just about a phrase or a mantra and not like the root of why they were thinking otherwise to begin with. So I love that that phrase is helping so many people. I love not that it is causing a little bit of harm. That's my opinion. But
I agree. And she also had Dr. Gabor Mate on her podcast, and I listened to the whole episode, and I think he really enlightens her about some of the topics that you're talking about. So it might be interesting to go and watch, because you can kind of see her shift and go, oh, wait a second, I wasn't thinking about it like that.
Well, I even have it. I didn't get it from her, but let them is at the top of this tattoo because, yeah, I had heard it from someone else. I don't remember who, but I was just like, that's fucking right. Like, let people be who they are, and I'm going to be who I am. But, bro, the fearing the people close to you seeing what you're posting is so real, because my fear has been in my, I'm going to put it this way, anti-religious postings, like, because I've completely deconstructed from religion. I like to tell people though that I'm from Oklahoma. I still live in Oklahoma. If you attend a church service or regularly attend anything like that, you're a fundamentalist if you're in Oklahoma. I mean, that's just how it is. So the teachings that I received were pretty horrible. And just deconstructing from that. But it's not really that I care. I don't care necessarily that people know that about me. I care because I know the fear that happens here when you listen to somebody talk about something like that, and that's in opposition of your own beliefs. I'm now kind of demonic to those people. Like, you know what I mean? And so I want to change the world. I can't, I hate that you can't listen to me now because I'm demonic, but also I'm demonic now. So you're just going to have to do with that what you will, you know, but I love the way that I thank you for sharing that, because it is helpful to have a few little things in there that you can lean on whenever your pattern wants to come up again and be like, are we still going to care what people think? You know?
Yeah. And also that's such a great survival mechanism. Like how intelligent of our brain to go that deep into thinking we need to protect ourselves that much and survive by what people think of us. And also, you know, I've had to do a lot of work on holding space for this inner child in me that was very intuitive as a child, very empathetic, had a lot of feelings, very sensitive. You know, I can't help the way I was born. I mean, who knows the reasons why I was born the way that I was? But I do know that as an adult, I can give that to myself now when I couldn't before. And also on the demonic thing too, I've really studied a lot about the topic of belonging. I'm writing a book about it right now. It's very fascinating when you really get down to the nitty-gritty. It's not as complicated as it seems. People just don't like what's different because they don't understand it. So, you know, I talk a lot about in religion with my family. I was raised Catholic. I had a lot of good experiences. I had some not good experiences. I don't consider myself Catholic today. I'm definitely, I mean, I'm an intuitive medium. Hello, I'm not even accepted in the Catholic Church.
Right.
But I am closer to Jesus and Mother Mary and God than I have ever been in my life from a completely non-religious standpoint. It is spiritual. It is my own thing. I've
Yeah.
never been more connected to love, and that just gets to be my journey. So just how I'm exhausted of trying to change other people's minds about me. I do not want someone doing that to me either. To me, true belonging happens regardless of if you fit in or not, because fitting in and belonging are not the same thing.
Yeah. How do you view them differently?
Fitting in is more of a surface level kind of ego thing. I mean, I definitely understand the connection piece behind it, the psychology behind fitting in, and a lot of us desperately want to do it, and there are pros and cons to it. However, belonging is your intrinsic worth no matter what, you look like, what you say, you belong to your family system simply because you're a part of it. You were born into this family system. Your intrinsic worth is rooted in that. Even if you don't fit in, no one can take that away from you. Even if someone dies early, which we address a lot in family constellation therapy, someone that dies under 65, they didn't get to live the longevity of their life. Whatever the repercussions are of an early death, even that person still belongs to the family system because they were born into it. So if you can look at your place in your family system from a place of belonging rather than from a place of fitting in, and maybe you throw in a little, I don't need to change your mind about me, it levels the fuck up your confidence in who you are and gives you clarity on who you are. And then when you do face your family, at least for me, it wasn't about proving myself or needing them to like me. It was more about me getting comfortable with me and focusing that energy back on me and continuing to be loving and kind with boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting whenever I even think about families now, because I don't have like a lot of contact with mine. And I have a couple of siblings that well, I have more than a couple, but I have some siblings that I try to maintain contact with. We have good relationships. We just don't see each other a lot. But other than that, I've got a couple of cousins, and that's like the people I talk to, and not even regularly, because my family system, looking back now, even just over my journey over the last year, I wonder if I had known then what I know now, could I have maintained any sort of relationship with some of them? And I think I really struggle now with, if I tap into a higher level of consciousness, then yes, I have so much compassion and so much acceptance even for who these people are, especially like my in-laws. We're very, very different people. And I choose not to have a lot of contact with them or my family, because I feel like I have to show up as a different version of myself to be like that, because I'm constantly defensive, I'm bracing, and so I'm kind of working on owning that and like understanding that right, wrong, and different, I'm allowed to journey however it is that I feel in the moment is best. I do try to do a lot of reflection because I want to make sure I'm not like showing up unhealthy, but also they're not the healthiest. I mean, the family that I even have left, I only have one aunt left on my mom's side, and then I have one aunt left on my dad's side and cousins and all that, but it just hasn't been deemed safe for me. I grew up as the golden child, raised by my grandma primarily in kinship foster care with her, but a lot of back and forth with my parents, and they were present in my life to the extent that they could be as addicts until both of them died before they were 40. So it was just a really weird dynamic that took me from golden child to black sheep, and then especially, that once you set boundaries, you're the black sheep, period. So, then I thought I was better than everyone. You know how that is.
We all go through that stage.
They're like, you just think, yeah, you're right. I mean, the thing is in my head, when my grandma would say that, I'd be like, because I fucking am. Like every time she would say that, I would never say it to her, but she said it a lot. And so I'd be like, well, there might be some truth to that, Grandma, but not in the way that you think. She thought that I thought I was better than her because of money. And I was like, oh no, honey, I'm not a narcissist, but you are. So there you go. But it's just hard because I guess I do constantly, I want to say the word scrutinize, but reflect on myself and making sure. I mean, but that's what this is all about for me, is leveling up as much as possible, like really getting the most out of this experience that I can. And I'm feeling a little defensive, not because of you, but like somebody said the other day, like I was having like a vulnerable moment where I was like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit of rejection sensitivity here, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to take that label on and blah, blah, blah. You're holding yourself back. And I'm like, I don't feel like that's what I'm fucking doing. But I mean, I'll be open to hearing about it because I didn't think I was doing a lot of stuff before that I figured out I was. So, okay, great. But do you think that there's a difference between taking on a label and do, like, you know how that is, you know what I mean by taking on a label, or just being reflective and being vulnerable and opening up when something comes up?
Well, honestly, what I'm hearing is a lot deeper than that. What I'm hearing is that instead of the kind of communication dynamic that you're having with someone be very assumptive, assumptuous and kind of making assumptions about other people, and instead of there's an opportunity to shift into more of an inquisitive conversation with people. I think so many of us, with our families and friends, we want to be seen and we want to be in this, you are for sure a soul that chose this life to level the fuck up and evolve. That is clear to me as day, intuitively. Also, your grandma's coming through a little bit, so I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, which is kind of
never
wild.
does. That's so funny.
Well, and here's the thing: when I do mediumship, it's usually the family member that people don't usually hear from. It's always because they know that I can communicate the words that need to be said. So, but hold on one second. Now I lost my train of thought.
Assumptuous conversations.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's a word, to be honest. I made that shit up. But
oh, well, I liked it.
I genuinely think more of us could benefit from dialogue and inquisitive dialogue rather than just being talked at. And I have to say, I do give my dad so much credit for this. He said to us growing up all the time, his dad taught him, I don't want to talk at my kids. I want to talk to my kids. And there were so many moments growing up that he talked to us. And we did feel that our voice mattered. And that's all of us want to feel, that we fucking matter. So I think the labels can be helpful to a certain extent. Like when I was diagnosed with OCD at 15, it finally made so much of my world made sense.
Right.
But if I feed into that too much and I stop getting curious about it and I get very rigid with it, then it starts becoming a block or a crutch,
Right.
or I start getting into this weird long-term victim mentality about it. And I think being a victim is an important part of the journey because many of us are victims of things. But should we get stuck there and it becomes our identity, then we're on a whole different kind of journey. We have to go backwards a little bit. So
No, I totally agree with that. That's why I don't do diagnosis as a therapist, because I'm like, it's not fucking important. We don't even need to talk about that, because I've seen people take on labels like bipolar and whatever, and just like that's their whole thing. So I definitely understand that. I don't feel like I'm doing that by being like, I mean, because the way I kind of do all of this now for myself is to just like, what's coming up? That's the wound it hit. If I cannot in 5 minutes or less get through that shit by myself, I'm gonna go ahead and tell the person who triggered it, oh, this is what's coming up. And then I can release it. But I said to this person, I hear you, but is it possible that what I'm saying to you is bringing something up in you that you're not comfortable with? Because other people would not respond like this. I'm not saying the way you are responding is incorrect, but I do know other people have a different perception of me, of this kind of conversation. You know what I mean?
Sorry, I should have my fiance close the blinds for the dogs. I do totally understand what you're saying. And I think that where you're trying to come from is a very compassionate place. And I think that compassion is really this place where we can hold space for many things to be true. And also what you're reflecting to me as well is the idea that many of us are not taught how to move through conflict. And many of us do not realize that we put so much power in the conflict, and yet there is 100 million times more power in the repair. And if we're taught how to repair, my goodness, the benefits that come from that emotionally, spiritually, mentally, even physically, our nervous systems respond to that really well too. So yeah, I definitely think that what a gift if you can give that to somebody who's not in that place when they've triggered you. But also too, for me, I've learned that there's some people in my life I can't even go there with because there's going to be zero receptivity. It's just going to be, I need to be right no matter what you say. And I will manipulate what you say just to be right because my inner child, it's not even their ego.
No, exactly.
My
That's
inner
where the
child
compassion
can't
comes
handle
from.
being wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was hearing, I hope they don't listen to this episode, honestly, but I was hearing, I was being dismissed because they were uncomfortable and they were dismissing themselves. And I was like, I wasn't even blaming you for the rejection. Like, I was just saying, oh, I felt a little something. I'm going to release it by letting you know. And as the conversation progressed, I was just like, I'm utilizing conversations like this for practice for me to maintain safety when somebody else has a big reaction to something I say, you know, because that's an area I'm growing in. And I used to really, really struggle. In fact, I purposely, subconsciously used to share with people I knew would have a response like that to confirm to me that I have no one to talk to. And that came up during this, like, fucking, I knew it, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, oh, but you do, first of all, have people, not many, but a few that I can just go be 100% myself with and fucking unleash all of the shit inside of me and be like, okay, I feel better. Like, cause I do internally process and I'll be okay. But sometimes you just got to say it out loud, you know, and I'm a talker. I'm a fucking Gemini. I got to get this shit out of my head, you know? And so I just was like taking the opportunity to deep breathe and stay safe within myself. Like, conflict's okay. You know what I mean? And this person has definitely triggered me a lot in like my healing, and it's been very useful for me. So I have determined that we will no longer have those conversations, but also I'm glad for the opportunity to practice conflict because I do avoid it regularly. And I'm not going to say didn't know how to create safety within myself during hard conversations. So I'm like, okay, like we're doing that. But I just think that actually, most of what my keynote was about was the fact that as a society, we are dismissive. We are avoidant of our own feelings. And I was like, on a micro level, that looks like exactly how that conversation went. And on a macro level, it looks like hearing about, some tragic accident with a child, and your first instinct is to blame that parent and be like, if they hadn't this, because you need to dismiss what's coming up inside of yourself. So you can create a little anger, a little, resentment, whatever, to not feel like the weight of somebody else's tragedy. I'm not saying you should. I just avoid those news conversations. But if I see them, I now know why I was having such a angry response to somebody else's tragedy. I don't like the way it made me feel.
Well, I love that your podcast is called the Emotionally Unavailable Podcast, because you're probably teaching a lot of people how to face that part of themselves. I do think that our world and our society, especially in the US, I will say, my family lives abroad in Europe, and I don't notice this as much. But in the US, especially where we're at right now, there is never been more hyper independence. There's never been more conflict, and that we're all avoiding. Mm-hmm. There's never been more needing to be right or wrong. And Dr. Gabor Mate, I honestly call him my unofficial mentor. I have studied all of his work. I've listened to so many YouTube videos. I've studied just so much of him because I really resonate with his perspective. He says that our need to put things in boxes, black or white, right or wrong, it's really this trauma response to find safety. If we went through very chaotic childhoods where, there wasn't a gray area, it wasn't safe to be in the gray area for whatever reasons there are, if we have to put ourselves in right or wrong, well, man, you miss out on so many nuances that are so important. And I like to think of things from the soulic perspective. And I don't know if many other people think this way, but as an intuitive medium, I do. I work very closely with my guides. I'm not sure if you resonate with that at all, but I do work.
I don't as much, just because I'm learning. That's a practice for me, but I definitely resonate with it.
I love working with my guides. Once I've been able to feel more confident with them, we all have guides. You can call them angels. You can call them ancestors. I mean, they're not really ancestors, but you could call them whatever you want. They're just basically your spiritual therapists that are always there for you. And, there's so much that they've been sharing with me around this topic and how we're moving into a world of we rather than us versus them. And I think of things from the soul perspective that when we cross over and we go into reviewing our life, will we be held by the black or white visions that we had, or will they be showing us the nuanced gray areas that we missed out on in terms of where we could evolve or grow? And I believe from a soulic perspective, we are here to experience many beautiful human things. Evolution and growth is high on that list. And so you can't live in a world of evolution and growth if you're living in this black and white box for yourself.
You have no idea. What's fucking hilarious to me is the agency that I just did this thing with. In October or November, I got to do a small panel interview with them. And I said, we need to do a little less of the us versus them and more of the seeing the us in them and become more of a we. And that's been my mission. And I have also felt it's been very weird as a very fucking codependent person to journey through isolation and learning to just feel really good on your own. And finally understanding what true love is and cultivating that, it's only the love you have for yourself, and just going through that versus now on my journey, I'm starting to, in the same way that I did to unravel the noise that was in my head, I'm starting to hear little whispers of the we, of seeing how now, okay, great. You went through the shedding and you've learned how to be you and who you are and how to show up as you in any space. And now let's start collecting. We're going to start becoming a part of collectives and just meeting people that are just as excited as I am to continue a connection and to collaborate in the future. And that's been really big for me because I'm noticing even in this moment, just the fear of that. And like, for instance, I'm doing a summit with a few people. I came up with the idea. I picked a few people that I thought were great, blah, blah, blah. But then a person that like has been such a fucking gift to this project, she's like marketing genius, whatever, right? But she has a very particular way of doing things. And I've been traveling and whatever, I'm doing my best, but like I'm not always hitting the mark. And I had to work through like feeling like I was in trouble or that everybody in the group is annoyed at me. You know, I know that neither of those things are true because they've each shared something like that along this journey. Like if we feel like we're not pulling our weight that week, all of that shit comes piling down. So one by one, we've had to encourage each other. But this week was my week to need the encouragement to where I was like, I'm working through feeling like I'm in trouble and you're all annoyed at me, you know, but like, that was such a gift for me because it just reconfirms like what I was wondering over a year ago when I was like, I'm emotionally available or unavailable. Like what? Like, I don't get that. I thought I shared, but learning, like, cause I suck at asking for help. I suck at like a few things like that, where those are the areas that I've really been focused on. And so for me, it's just been a gift to experience conflict, experience correction or feedback that I'm defensive about and how to like work through that. But that's what I feel peace is plugging in. Like, this is how you become a part of the collective and not just individual. But I had to build all this shit to now be a like good member of the collective. You know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. I've been going through something really similar where there's been a lot of relationships I've had to put on pause, professional and personal, and really take accountability in how I'm perpetuating a dynamic within a relationship that may not be something I want to take into my future, something I'm ready to leave behind. And it's so interesting how certain people I'll speak my truth with, and there's so much receptivity. And I'm like, thank you for letting my soul just be figuring out, you know, how to be on this journey, rather than some people will be very disorganized in their response. And it really triggers me because I'm like, listen, I am your grade A creme de la creme, people pleaser, caretaker, oldest daughter of 5. If you start acting like you need something, that bitch is going to come full force and I'm going to forget who I am. So I have to not be in relationships like that. And yet at the same time, I'd be curious if you're feeling this way too. It has then created so much space in my life for a few things. One, my intuition has never been more tapped in and tapped on. I am like, I thought I was confident before. This is like another level.
Yes.
Two, I have reached a place of acceptance that some people can't move forward with me in life as much as I thought they were going to. And I grieve that very much. But then 3, I've made so much space in my life for new friendships and new people to come in that were actually maybe their energy made me a little uncomfortable in the beginning. I wasn't really sure how I fit in or how I belong. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second, you're just like me. We had to get through the ego shit. And then once we got through that, we're like so close and we're cool.
Yes.
So there's just so much opportunity in the process you're going through. And I totally relate to it.
It's wild because at first it was so lonely. And then I learned how to fill my time up with good things. You know, I kind of just learned how to fill myself up. Like I was literally just running around asking everyone around me to fill up all those holes from childhood. Like I would need them to make the biggest fucking deal about my birthday. It's like the one time a year I was comfortable being like, I need to be the center of attention and I need to know, like, you need to do everything that you can on this one fucking day every year to prove to me how special I am to you and that you choose me.
Mm-hmm.
And learning to choose myself and inherently feel the value and the worth that I bring to the world and every experience that I enter, man, that carries so much more weight than anything they ever attempted to do. And I'm going to say attempted because even their best attempts still left me feeling disappointed. Like I was still like, I guess nobody loves me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also what I'm hearing too is that you really need people to see. It almost sounds like you're saying, I feel safe when people can see my outside and see through that into what's really going on the inside and kind of just let me work through my own shit to like open up to see that vulnerable piece inside. I think that's part of the kind of themes that I've been hearing from Spirit a lot lately is like people are just taking a lot of people for face value without looking at the why behind it. You know, like we want to put our family members or friends in these boxes, but really my story and their story about their life is just as valid as a story that I carry for my life. How they handled and carried that story may have been really harmful and really hurtful. And that shit sucks. And you can't make excuses for that. And if you need to be estranged from them, more power to you. You got to protect yourself. But it doesn't dismiss that they also have a painful story behind that. It's so funny because I was watching this documentary on Netflix about some like murder case or something. I forget what it was called. And I said to my fiance, I wonder what that murderer's, whatever his name was, I wonder what his life story is. And he was like, are you empathizing with this dude right now? And I'm like, no, actually, like I am. Like, what is this guy's story? Like, where did he come from? What is going on where your brain starts to say, this is okay? I think a lot of people don't approach others from that perspective. I think a lot of people just don't want to take the time to do it.
Yeah, I think it's a form of dismissing. And for me, the way I felt like the key for me and what I'm seeing as the key for others is when you can give yourself all of that compassion, it starts to extend to other people. But you're not going to allow probably more for others than you would for yourself. For instance, perfectionist standards that I applied to myself, I'm not letting anyone else off the fucking hook either. Now, was I perfect? No, but I did expect you to beat the shit out of yourself the way I did when I wasn't perfect, you know?
Yeah.
And so like understanding that has really helped. But even every time I uncover something, it's like, oh, I do that too. Every single time it unlocks a total different level of consciousness, of compassion, of love, and of giving and receiving. Like every single time I'm like, oh shit, I do that too. It's a gift to receive those downloads because then I can look at you and go, oh, I know exactly, in the same way that I can hear your shame when you talk and I can hear your wounding when you talk. I know exactly why people do what the fuck they do. So that's where it's hard for me is like, how much leeway do I give to anyone just because I know what they do? But see, that's interesting that you bring this up because that's where I've been with my grandma for this journey is because, well, I was, growing up, I would have been like, she's my best friend. She saved my life. She blah, blah, blah. And then as I started to place boundaries and take care of myself a little better, I think it was easier to do that with anger and resentment and bitterness than to like feel what I had gone through with her. And then it was weird because a switch flipped one day and I could not remember anything good about her. I like literally could not. I would think and be like trying to remember good memories and get into the energy of those memories, and I just couldn't. And then at this panel thing, the night before the panel, I was like, what am I going to fucking talk about for kinship foster care? Like, because I didn't get a list of the questions that they were going to ask because I had to miss the meeting. And I knew a couple of them weren't going to be relative to me. And so I was like, and then one they asked about culture. And I was like, I don't want to answer questions about culture that I wasn't prepared for because I was like, we're white. I'm not even going to go there, like straight up.
Yeah.
But the story came to me the night before that I don't think about that much, even though I wrote it in my first book. But it was about like the gift that she gave us of taking us back in her house. But I have not felt that close to her in years than that, like reliving that memory of we had gone back and forth between her and our mom, and then she had custody of us at that point for 2 full years. And then my grandpa left her after 36 years of marriage, and she was going through menopause. So she had this complete mental health crisis. And up till then, my dad hadn't really been deemed safe to be alone with, but she was losing her shit, had no money, relied on my grandpa for income, whatever. And she's like, I can't keep you. So at Christmas time in 6th grade, she just ships us off to live with my dad. Literally, we had to spend Christmas with him. I loved my dad, but I didn't feel safe Like, I knew my parents were not safe for me. They were addicts and they were unpredictable, and nothing about them ever was like home, you know? So I was fucking devastated. Like, I started my period for the first time. I didn't tell anyone. Like, the entire 2 weeks was absolute torture for me. And then she just showed up and she was like, okay, well, she determined probably not the best idea that I left them with their dad. So she called our local like Department of Human Services, and they said, actually, there's this private foster care agency that can help you, blah, 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 and it's going to be fine. Get the kids. They're meant to be with you. So she did, and we waited it out, and that was the private foster care agency is who I went to do the talk for. But I was like, oh my God, thank you, Jesus, for sending her back. Like, because I don't even know if I prayed that way. I think that would have been it for me. Like, after everything I had ever experienced, and there was plenty more after that, that was a turning point for me because it was so devastating. And so I was like thanking this agency. It's the Casey Family Program, but I was just like, it really did make all the difference. I mean, obviously all the support they gave us after that was equally as important, but that moment was a turning point in my life. And it was the closest I have felt to her in years, because she's been gone for she died in 2015, but I haven't been able to feel that connection with her at all. And anytime I've visited a medium, she doesn't really come up. Like, my parents do a lot, my mom especially, but like, she hasn't. So I just find all of this very interesting that this is the day that that happened.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that with me, because I know that's a vulnerable part of your journey. And I think really it's so fun. Your grandma is coming through, but I also felt your parents too. I just want to get back on my thought for a second because they were kind of pulling my attention. No, my it farted. They just that was it. But no, thank you for sharing that with me. I think that the work that you're doing now is probably really benefiting a lot of people who feel stuck in that system as well and need. Oh, I remember what I was going to say.
Okay.
I think, everyone gets to be on their own place in their journey with their families, but I do appreciate when people reach an emotional maturity where they can hold space for the good and the bad. I'm putting that in air quotes. They can hold space for, my grandma had these personalities and it really affected me in a negative way. And also she was able to give me gifts. And I think that that's what we've been really alluding to this whole time is, can we get as a society to a place where we can hold space for everything? And, if people are being harmful and hurtful towards others, that's a whole nother story. There are boundaries and restrictions needed for people's safety. But I do think it's interesting just to get curious within yourself rather than having to force a relationship, just getting curious within yourself about the gifts and the things that feel like curses too. Yeah.
Well, I've been, this has been part of like my mantra is learning to use the word and, because I can see, it really started with me. Like, I want to be all these things. And I learned I am already all of these things, and I'm going to fuck up. And sometimes I'm a bitch. And sometimes I don't lead with love. Yeah. Sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes I have PMS. Sometimes the worst part of me comes out and I'm going to have to make repair. But that does not dispute all of these things that I am. And I kept thinking there was going to be this destination. And I've gotten the privilege to learn this lesson a few different times, like really deepening my understanding of it. But I really did believe, like, at some point I was not going to be a bitch anymore. Or, like, even whenever I learned, like, I can be an advocate and I can be soft and I can be, flowy and whatever. It just, I still thought I was going to be perfect at something after a certain amount of time. And so I still relearn that all the time, that like, you are this and you are that, and all of it matters. Like, why am I trying to rid myself? Because it is when we can alchemize our dark and our light that we are our most magical, in my opinion. And I'm trying to teach people, like, even like with their kids, the things that we stress so much about with our kids, I'm like, Well, the things that you are seeing as their weaknesses are very much their strengths.
Mhm.
They are very much a part of the fabric of who they are. And when you take one thing, you take it all. So be very careful about what you're trying to rid yourself or your children or anybody else of, because it all fucking has a place. And I think that's been really important for me, is just learning, like, I'm gonna show up how I show up that day. And it just is what it is. That's why I've really, really, really tried so hard to make this show so authentic, because that's one way that I can show people how to show up out loud. Just be you. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, my favorite statement is yes and. There's a whole chapter in my book on yes and I think that's a beautiful way to look at it, is your inherent worth is never determined by the and. Yes,
Mhm.
you are beautiful. Yes, you are smart. Yes, you are all of the amazing things. And also, you get to be a flaming bitch one day if you want to, because that's just how you're being human. And I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of permission in that.
Yeah. Do you, like, let me ask you this, since you work in the spiritual shit so much, because I've just, all of the spiritual stuff is fairly new to me. I was always intuitive. I was always whatever, but that was a part I was kind of scared of as a kid,
Mhm.
I was like, I'm a little psychic. That's weird. But then that was it. Like, I was just like, I let it go. But like, through healing, I kind of had a spiritual awakening too. So I started with, like, deepening my understanding of astrology, which understanding some of that really helped me lean into, like, what I felt was my purpose, and lean out of all of the things that were holding me back. Not all, I'm sure I still have blocks, but um shit, what was I saying? Oh, so nope, lost it again. I was gonna ask you a spiritual question, but
Okay.
nope. Three things popped up in my brain at once, and then that was it. I was like, which way was I going? And now they're all paths lead back to, I don't remember what the fuck we were talking about.
You give it a second, I bet it will come back.
Well, how much? Well, first of all, I'm going to ask you this because I've asked a couple of people this, but for the last, like, I don't know, year, I've been like, I think my mom is definitely on my spirits team. Like I have felt that very strongly. So, do you feel that?
Actually, as soon as you were talking, she showed me like a rose in front of her heart. And so that shows me like a gift of your heart as well. And our ancestors, there are many ancestors, like my grandparents are on my team and they help me with things. And then there's some ancestors that aren't, that don't play such a present role. But the feeling that your mom gives me is that because you're her daughter, and once she crossed over, she was able to disconnect from the addiction and the ego. She also shows me that she disconnected from the anger as well. The anger, she really highlights. I keep wanting to say the word, it's forming in my mouth, anger. A lot of what you experienced, she validates as anger. It was her trying to manage that. Once she could, she shows me herself crossing over, almost like she's taking off layers of clothing of light. And she remembered who she was. She said who the fuck she was. And she goes, how do you think she's my daughter? And so she says, once I realized what I missed out on as a mother, then I was able to realize that I had to step in. I had to step in a different way. But she shows me herself putting her feet in the ground and really like trying to be a grounded support for you. Whereas your dad comes through and he's more supportive for her rather than for you per se. It's not that he's not supportive for you, because there's all love there now. It's all different. It's almost as if his soul is kind of working through some of the guilt and shame that he experienced on earth as a result of his choices. Also, you're just getting a full reading. Your mom's anger triggered his anger, and his anger was darker and deeper than your mom's in a sense. And so she shows me maybe a moment in time, anywhere in between 5 and 7, 10, 30, like there's just like this formidable age group that she's showing me. 5 feels very significant. I see this like family room. Some people are arguing, and she thinks she's being protective against dad, or maybe something like dad or another male figure, but she's actually doing something harming. And she's like, I didn't have the awareness, she actually shows it to me as if she didn't have space in her brain to think about these things. And I don't mean that in a demeaning way. It's almost as if
No, I get it.
so much else going on, she could not see clearly. So she says, yeah, I'm there for my daughter because I had to do that when part of her soul contract was to be there for you and do that. And she realizes and takes accountability that she didn't. And now she's like, and what else chance do I have to do except for do it right now? This is what I have to do. Do you have a daughter by chance?
Yeah.
Is she like 13 or?
She's almost 11.
Okay, 13 is going to be a really powerful year for both of you because I feel like your relationship is going to get a lot stronger than it is now. But also, yeah, your mom shows all of you like embracing, so it feels like it's going to be healing. But there's also a message here about be mindful of anything that was triggering for you at 13. She may reflect similar themes, and it will be important for you to be super resourced when she starts triggering you as a teenager, because holy shit, teenagers are rough sometimes, but like it's part of their journey of development. So 13, I see it being very like all of you embracing, there's so much love, but to be extra resource in those moments where she might be like, fuck you, mom. And you're like, use me. But it's not anything that you need to be super like scared of. You already have the tools. It's just about like really getting the tools in there.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me because my dad was an Aquarius and he really was so soft and sweet and squishy. So what they're telling you about is well, first of all, they divorced when I was 5, but
that's probably what it is then.
Yeah. He didn't drink anymore after her because he was so violent with her, but she kind of created the violence.
Mm-hmm.
And they were both hardcore addicts. But after he quit drinking, it was opiates. So he was pretty chill, and he stayed away when he was fucked up. My mom didn't.
Yeah.
So that's probably a little bit of what she's talking about too, is thinking I need to see my kids. I need to be present, but like, mama, don't come when you're this fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
There was so many things but I mean, I definitely remember exact scenarios that she's talking about with that. But, it's been really weird because after my daughter was born was when I really started to feel her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I felt her kind of immediately, like I almost embodied some of her qualities almost immediately after she died.
Mm-hmm.
I was pregnant with my first son when she died. And I remember being like I started to be afraid of people's driving. I had never been like that as a passenger, but that's how she was. Like, there were certain things that like I was now like embodying qualities of hers.
Mm-hmm.
But after I had my daughter, I just started to feel her around more. And I have really leaned into the lessons I've learned from being her daughter to be a better mother because, well, first of all, my baby is like, she's exactly who I would have been had I been given permission to be that. And she is very strong-willed. You cannot fucking tell her what to do. I mean, yeah, I'm the parent. So like, if I want to like come down really hard on her to stop something, then that's what I have to do. But otherwise, I have to like lead her to the water and be like, doesn't a shower sound nice today? What time do you think you would like to shower? Shit like that. She's just such a strong personality. But what I love about her is that she knows that. Like, one time she was like, I'm going to bed. And I thought she said something else, like she was going to my room. And I was like, you need to go to bed. And she was like, that's where I was going. And now I can't because you told me to. Like, 10 years old, she's saying that to me. And I was like, you will never know how fucking proud that made me that you're recognizing these things about yourself. I was given no space to learn or grow. So like, really, I've told a lot of people this recently, like, I really feel like more of a shaman to her than anything. Like, I'm literally just here to guide you because I have learned I don't actually have any fucking control. So like, I'm just going to love you.
Do you know how many of my clients that are parents feel that way? I can't tell you how many of my clients that have kids in that age group that are like, I thought I read all these parenting books. I don't have to do shit. My kid knows exactly what they're supposed to do. I'm just supposed to be the gentle reminder. And I'm like, these souls that are coming through now are so evolved and so like, they're just beyond our time. Like, I really feel like we're going to see such a huge jump between like millennial and Gen X generation and like the next ones. I mean, you're already seeing it. But like, I think in terms of self-awareness, because I really believe that every generation breaks a curse. I think that a lot of our parents' generation, they tried to break the physical abuse curse. I can't say that, but like physical abuse is definitely looked down upon more than it was in our parents' generation.
Absolutely.
And now our generation is like, since we don't have to deal with the physical stuff as much, maybe, and that's not true for everyone, but there is this huge generational emphasis on emotional safety and emotional abuse and like the emotions of it and getting in our bodies. And then this next generation is all about like high level of intelligence of spiritual awareness or self-awareness and like just yearning for truth. It's very cool to see. But I want to go back for a second on what you said about when your mom passed. You said she was under 65 when she passed.
She was 39.
So many times in a family system, when an early death happens, it almost leaves somewhat of like a black hole in the family system. And sometimes the generations that come after that will fall into the same patterns of that person because that's their loyalty of keeping that person alive. So have so much grace with yourself that was just a part of you yearning for connection with your mom. And psychologically, subconsciously, and even energetically, you were looking for mom and you found her through fear, through paranoia, through these thoughts. And I just want to validate that for you, that was just a survival part of you, but hopefully it's been able to shift into honoring the gifts of her. And there is so much, nurturing feminine love that comes through for you with her. I almost feel as if that lifetime for her was a test and a test she did not pass. And that when it's her time to come back again, she will set the intention to have challenges again, probably to come back with your grandmother it feels like they were mother and daughter. Were they mother and daughter? Yeah. And I feel like there's going to be a really big shift that happens for the whole generation and the lineage. But you are so a cycle breaker. Like, I can't even begin to tell you, like, as I'm hearing you speak, you know your purpose in this family system. Like, don't let anybody shake that about you because you know what you're here to do.
Yeah. Well, and I guess probably me feeling a little shaken is why I even asked the question earlier about like the conversation that I had with a friend. But I'm learning to I'm actually a little bit like, I got such like a wave of not even chills, but like a full body experience. I'm actually a little bit lightheaded from it. But I do know exactly why I'm here, and like, right or wrong, I'm fucking living out loud, like, and if people aren't evolved enough to like be able to have serious conversations with me, I'm not even going to release them with love, but I am going to let them stand right where they are until they want to catch up, because I'm not keeping myself small anymore. And I think that was an example of me trying to keep myself small, to try to extend compassion and love and understanding to somebody. But I like continue to step further and further into this authority that I feel. And I just feel really moved by everything you said. Thank you. Like, because it is a fucking journey to try to understand what the hell,
Yeah. And I also want to validate for you too, that like, if I tune into grandma a little bit, there is apprehension, but there's also so much love. And she stands next to your mom and holds her hand, which is a symbolism that shows me that they have worked out whatever they needed to work out on the other side. And that there is an open invitation for you to meet them in that as well. And grandma also winks at me and she says, why do you think she's going on a spiritual journey? We've been calling her attention. So just know that this calling that you're having is deeply supported and loved and guided by your grandmother and by your mom. And you have that feminine female lineage support to move forward. You are super intuitive. The way you use it is going to be the way you want to use it in this lifetime. And that's cool. Like people want to come to readings for me and talk about like rainbows and fucking butterflies. And I'm like, no, I'm going to talk to probably the ancestor that you don't really talk to because they want to apologize. They know that I'm okay with doing that. A lot of mediums are not okay with that. And also like, I'm probably going to show you where things are in a little bit of a darker sense, but I'm going to help you get to the light. Well, not every medium or intuitive works that way. And so I think you're going to use your intuition the way that you're meant to. And family constellation therapy, whether it's with me or someone that you know, 1,000,000%, because I feel like it's going to give you keys to unlocking more freedom in your life. There's probably just a few things that need to come through your body to face your mom and your grandma rather than be in the mind. You know, I mean, you being chatty, listen, I'm chatty Cathy too. That's why I have a fucking podcast myself. I could talk all day long. I've been talking since I was 6 months old. My mom said I never stopped talking, which is so true. But there's a reason. It's because it's your gift. And so you're ready to like use it in a bigger way. You're ready to like, the podcast is one way, but you've got so much to say and so many lives to touch and so many things to heal. Like you're just getting started.
That's what I feel, and I'm trying to find my stage. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, that's where I'm at. Is
but
like
you got to meet. There's people that you're going to meet that you haven't met yet, and you'll only meet those people once you use your voice in different ways. Start using your intuition, and you put yourself in places and situations that you may not feel fully comfortable with, but you know you're drawn to them. You know, a woman's circle, or you know, maybe it is something in the foster care system where you know you're kind of intimidated, but you know that you can help. It's just about following that intuitive feeling within you.
awesome. I feel like that's what I'm doing. Well, I've never felt this before. So this is very interesting to me. The sensation that I still have in my body is very weird. Like I don't even feel fully connected to myself right now. It's very interesting.
In a bad way? It's too much?
It's a good way. It's a good way, but it's different. So it's like it is bizarre. I can't even explain it to you. I hear an echo even like from me talking, but not like from the computer, but it's like I feel full of something and I don't know what that is. It's very interesting.
Could be life force energy.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, because everything you fucking said from the time we started talking was shit that's been like circling in my brain for I was on the plane yesterday thinking like, because I'm a victim to the TikTok tarot readers. Sometimes I just watch them, you know? Okay, good. Because I'm like, sometimes I'm like skip, and then other times I'll skip, and then I'm like, wait, and I go back, and I'm like, okay, that felt meant for me. So I'm just gonna again, I assign the meaning to all this shit anyway, right? So I'm like, I decided that meant something for me. But I was a lot of the words have been, you just haven't met them yet. Like it's good, you know, and the flow of, it's funny that you were saying feminine with my mom and grandma, because that's been the journey this last year, is like leaning into the feminine, because I realized like I had lived in my masculine energy my entire life and tried to control everything. And I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job of like flowing to where the opportunities take me and whatever. I've been like, is it now time for me to be a little more masculine and go out and search more? But that doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right.
I think you're going to have a male mentor that comes through for you. They don't feel necessarily spiritual, although they could be spiritual naturally, but I'm not talking like he's not doing what we're doing right now, but there is something about him. He seems a little bit older. But he comes in as a mentor for you to support that version of you while you learn to feel safe to spread your wings and fly. It almost feels like like a grandfather energy. But this person's alive. It's almost like this person's either in your community or maybe a little bit outside of your community. You'll meet this person and it'll just kind of like all click for you. And it'll just be like, we need to talk, but I'm not really sure about what. And I think that's why Spirit was saying it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. There's probably not going to be a reason as to why it happens, but it will. And when that person comes through, he will open door after door after door after door for you. And you just have to learn to trust that this man he cares about you. He's there to support you and to act as a masculine support and container for you too.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like in a past life, he was a teacher of yours. I see like a Native American lifetime. So I feel like he just comes in and acts as like a human guide again for you. Kind of in every life he comes in and kind of shifts your path a little bit for you.
Okay. I have to tell you this. I'm so sorry, but okay. I do have Native my mom was actually much more native than like I am. None of us really like connected to that part of our ancestry too much. She did a little bit. She did shrooms and shit up in the mountains of California. But I met a lady who works with indigenous communities. She's indigenous. She teaches for the University of Washington. I'm gonna shout her out, Angelique Day. I was wearing strawberry earrings, and she said, somebody complimented them. I was like, yeah, I was really drawn to strawberries for a little while, whatever. And she was like, got very like into teaching me that like strawberries are the heart and just like all of this stuff in indigenous teachings.
Yeah.
And so when you said the thing about my mom with a rose, like in the heart of things, I connected to that and the rose because I had a rose from her for years up on a little whatnot shelf in my room. And so all of these things are just crazy to me because like there's just so many different connections that I've made over the last few days, and you're saying shit that connects to all of it. So it's just crazy.
We were meant to meet. I love your energy. We were so meant to meet. Your ancestors are so funny. Everyone just kind of like shut down the energy and they're like, see you later. I'm like, okay, bye. We were for sure meant to meet. And I totally like, we should totally stay in contact. I mean, I would love to. But yeah, you're just on this really sacred path. And I hope you meet more people like you, like me, like in this community who really validate that for you. That's really super cool.
I hope so too. And what's funny is when I pulled up Podmatch earlier to look at your profile, I said to myself, oh, we were meant to meet.
Yeah.
Like the words came out of my mouth. Yeah, I didn't just think it. I was like, oh, we were meant to meet. Perfect. I just read the first line and I was like, that's right. Okay. But I do believe that. And I would love to stay connected and collaborate in any way, shape, or form that ever feels like it resonates with you.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to build coalitions and communities and be a part of other people's communities. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing it, you know?
I think our paths are going to meet professionally at some point. I see us meeting in person and being a part of something together. I don't know what it is, but I do see our paths crossing. So we have to stay in touch.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what is the name of your podcast?
It's called the Heal with Kat podcast. I dive into like psychosolic evolution growth. So like the spiritual and the physical growth that we go through. And I do a lot of interviews with people, but sometimes I do solos too.
Okay, well, I'll make sure I check it out. I'm excited about that. And yes, I'm serious. Stay in contact. I will. Are you on social media and stuff?
I'm on TikTok and Instagram. I mean, my social media manager manages my Instagram for the most part. I'm mostly on TikTok because I just prefer that community. But
oh my God, I'm trying.
It's hard.
I'm trying to make myself do a live on there. I've been trying to make myself do it for. I
Do
can't
it.
do it long. I'm so scared. I'm so scared.
Follow me and I'll follow you back, and then I'll go. You tell me when you're going live and I'll go on there.
Okay, I will. Is it just your name?
It's on TikTok. It's Heal with Kat Pod.
Okay. I wonder if I've come across you and didn't even realize it.
Maybe.
Well, your name sounds so familiar. That's why I thought maybe it was Pete that talked about that. But it also could be because I've seen you on my dashboard for a week. So
it could be too. My family had a really well-known winery in the US before we sold it a couple of years ago. So some people think that, but it's just because, I mean, if you know wine, usually people will put the two and two together.
I'm not cool.
No, it's not about being cool. It's just sometimes people will say that and then they'll be like, oh, the winery. And I'm like, yeah, that's my family.
Oh, that's crazy. Where do you live now?
In Denver. We're about to move to Boulder, but I'm in Denver right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever want to, Morgan Roos is on TikTok and she.
Yes, I know. I don't know her, but I know of her and I've watched her sagas and I'm like, oh my God.
I'm new to her. And so I'm like, God, that is chaos. And I love it. Like it's so entertaining to me because I have to be so careful about the media I consume.
Yeah.
So I've stopped, like I was a true crime girly. Like when you were talking about your Netflix documentary, I was like, oh, I did allow myself to watch the Gabby Petito case because I had followed it on TikTok when that happened. I watched the documentary, but that's the only true crime I've watched in like a year because I just I don't listen to the same music. I don't anything. So Morgan's such a safe little outlet for me. So when you said Denver, I'm like, what Denver? I was like, oh, you got to go to the dive bar. You got to go to the Rat Shack.
Oh my God, I don't even drink, which is so funny. My family had a winery and I don't even really drink that much, but like I could not live her life. I'm like, girlfriend, I live in my house. I am like, I don't leave this 5 mile radius. Like
Me too. And I like everything I do is remote now pretty much. So I would traveling, especially I was like washing my hands extra and stuff because I'm so susceptible to germs now.
yeah.
I don't leave my house enough. And I'm like, okay. And that's why my throat hurts today, Kat.
That's so
Thank
funny.
you
My
so
throat.
much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on. This was awesome.
It was awesome. I'm so excited. Seriously, you've made my entire day. The feeling has passed, so that's good. I was a little alarmed by it. I was like, am I going to pass out? Because it feels like that a little bit.
Oh gosh, I worried maybe that you were disassociating or something, and I was moving too fast. and I should have
No,
listened.
it was an actual physical sensation from my toes to my head.
Wow.
And it was like I just can't say it any other way than I felt full of something. And like I was buzzing a little bit and a little bit lightheaded. It was weird. I felt very present, but also like my body was widening. It was really weird. That's the only way I can say it. So you know, whatever you did, yeah, like whatever you did, little voodoo queen over here, you know.
I just talked.
I know, but isn't it wonderful to have such a gift like that when you speak people? Because that's the thing that I've gotten really comfortable with saying out loud is like, no, I know that when I talk, people listen. Like, you know, like so my old social worker is, who she's like really high up in that organization now. And she did my introduction and I hadn't ever like been like, I know her because I didn't know if she had said that when she like booked me on stuff like this, but she introduced me and she actually like told everyone she was my old social worker and whatever. But after the panel thing, I was beating myself up a little bit because I knew that the story I told was impactful and I knew that part was great, but I hadn't really said a lot else. And I did say like, I'm not going to talk about culture because we're white. So like what, you know, and I was like, should I have fucking not said, I was just beating myself up a little bit. So we went to dinner that night and I was just really open. I said, listen, I just need you to tell me you're okay with what I said and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't want to think about this anymore. I don't want to whatever. Like, she's like, are you kidding? Did you see people's reaction? I said, no, I know. And that didn't surprise me. I don't give a shit. Like, I knew that was going to happen. I'm okay saying like, I magnetize people when I talk or specifically when I share stories. Yeah. But like, I said, this is some mom shit. I need your approval. Can you just give it to me really quick? And she was like, you have it, man. And I was like, thank you. I needed to get past this. And this was the only way.
Sometimes we need a little validation. This voice may have gotten us in trouble in the past. So when we use it, we got to make sure it's okay.
That's exactly fucking right. And I'm just now comfortable with using it to the magnitude that I am. Like I was silenced as a child and learned to shut the fuck up. Yeah. And I became a writer because I could do it all perfectly. You know, I could craft a sentence and whatever. And now I have no desire to write most of the time because I've learned to be comfortable speaking. Yeah. But I was just like, well, you're the only one I cared about approving of me. So can you just tell me, please? And then yesterday I texted her because she's actually back in Oklahoma dealing with some family stuff. And I was like, hey, I made it home safe. How are you? No pressure to answer if you're busy, whatever. And she was so kind to be like, I just want to, tell you everybody loved you and just like all the things. And I was like, oh, honey, I was past that on Tuesday whenever I got what I needed. I knew that the keynote went well. Like I got a standing ovation. I felt the energy. We were all good. But I thought it was really sweet that she was like, you did so good, honey. You did so good.
Congratulations. That's a dream, honestly, to do public speaking and get a response like that. My gosh.
It really was. It was so awesome. And just for people to like stop me immediately and ask questions about what I said. And I've already gotten a few people who like had to go and look me up because I didn't put up any sort of contact sheet or whatever. And they had to go. I got a message from someone who found me on Psychology Today to send me a message to be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I'm going to feel real good about that.
You
good about that.
Soak that in. That's what we do this for.
Yes, that's why I've been just trying to live in that energy the rest of the week. Just like, oh my God, that was amazing. And I'm fucking grateful right here, right now, no matter what else happens. Like, that's amazing.
I love that for you. That's so cool.
you. Well, I've loved this conversation. I appreciate your openness so much, and thank you for giving me a free reading. That was sweet. But I'm gonna look and see kind of like what your pricing is and stuff, because I really do want to do this.
Okay. Yeah. And if you do end up booking, let me know. I'll give you a referral code before. It'll give you like 20% off a session. So just
Okay.
as a gift. But like, yeah, I really think whether it's with me or anyone, I think there's so much available to you in that. So
Yeah, I'm excited. I really am. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
And thanks for of course, thanks for your honesty, your vulnerability, and like just being you. It's so refreshing when you get on a podcast and you meet someone who's just themselves rather than like, like buttoning up. You're just like, okay, I appreciate like all the fucks and the shits and the things that I just appreciate.
Yeah. And I hear you on that. Thank you for saying that, because I'm trying to get on other people's shows too. And sometimes I'm like, wow, y'all are real precious about this.
Well,
like, I don't want to be that way. Oh, you will. I would love to be on your show.
Yeah, you can talk. We can talk about your story. We can talk about the book you've wrote. We can talk about anything, the foster care system, like how it affects the family. Like I'll send you the link to book on my calendar. I think I'm booking out until July right now, but either way, it will give us a good time to chat.
Hell yeah. That would be awesome. Okay,
yeah. Great. Yay.
All right. Well, have a fabulous Friday.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, make sure you've given the show a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening to if you haven't already. And check out my website, empoweredwithmelissahepner.org, or my link tree on Instagram at melissa.hepner to check out my latest offers or workshops.
Emotionally unavailable. Emotionally unavailable.
INDEPE and cut.
Atlanta, get ready to feel the energy. Love Atlanta Volleyball is back and gearing up to bring their A game, featuring the best volleyball players in the world, including Atlanta's own Tia Jimerson. Power hits, wild rallies, and a hometown crowd that shows up loud. This is the new Atlanta Night Out. Tickets start at $15. Visit LVBATL.com/iHeart. Love Atlanta's new season begins January 2026.